I smooth my navy dress as I park in front of my parents' modest ranch-style home. The red brick facade and neatly trimmed hedges look exactly the same as they did when I was growing up. Some things never change in Boise. Some things do. My mother, Linda, opens the door before I reach the porch. Her arms stretch wide, her smile too bright. "Melissa, you look lovely." She pulls me into an embrace that feels suspiciously genuine, her floral perfume enveloping me. It's been too long. 5 years of minimal contact, then suddenly a dinner invitation because they miss me. My skin prickles with warning. "Hi, Mom." I return the hug, holding myself slightly back. Dad appears in the entryway, his silver hair freshly trimmed. There she is. His eyes drift immediately to Chase and Brooke standing in the living room. A nervous glance. A silent exchange. I notice. The dining room hasn't changed: cream walls, oak furniture, and family photos covering every surface. I stop at the mahogany credenza, touching the silver frame holding our Grand Canyon vacation photo. The trip I financed when Dad's retirement account took a hit. "Wine?" Mom asks, already pouring a generous glass of Cabernet. "Thanks." I accept it, taking a small sip as my siblings settle into their usual spots. Chase, slouched in his chair, designer watch gleaming. Brooke, perfectly highlighted hair and manicured nails, scrolling through Instagram. "The pot roast smells wonderful," I offer, trying to ease the strange undercurrent pulsing beneath the familiar scene. "Local development is booming," Dad says, passing the potatoes. "They're putting in that new shopping center over on Fairview." Small talk, the currency of people avoiding what they really want to say. Chase takes a large bite, talking through it. "My new album is finally taking off. The producer thinks we might get some serious streaming numbers this time." The same producer who received $12,000 of my money for the last breakthrough that never materialized. "That's great," I murmur. Brooke doesn't even look up from her phone, thumb scrolling through images of European cafes and designer handbags. A lifestyle her part-time job at the boutique can't possibly fund. "The lighting is perfect," she says to no one in particular, angling her phone to show a cafe in Paris she visited last spring. On my dime. The room feels charged, as if everyone is waiting for something. Mom refills wine glasses that aren't empty. Dad clears his throat twice. Chase checks his watch. Choreographed. Rehearsed. I cut a piece of pot roast, the knife scraping against the plate with a sound that makes my mother wince. Dad sets down his fork deliberately. Clears his throat a third time. Here it comes. "We've been meaning to talk to you about something important, Melissa." My stomach tightens. The room shifts, narrowing to the serious expressions across the table. "We finalized the will," Mom announces, her voice carrying the practiced evenness of a prepared speech. She dabs her lips with a napkin, avoiding my eyes. "The house, the cabin, everything, it's all going to Chase and Brooke." The pot roast turns to ash in my mouth. I set my fork down carefully. "I see." 10 years ago. I was 28, just getting Barrett Commercial Design off the ground. My phone rang late on a Tuesday night, Dad's panicked voice explaining they were underwater on the mortgage. The emergency family meeting in this very dining room. The relief on their faces when I promised to help just until things stabilize. Chase hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe. "You're saving us, Mel." Brooke wiped away tears. "I don't know what we'd do without you." My small business success had suddenly made me the family bank. It never stopped. Chase's music career always just one more investment away from success. The $20,000 for studio time. The equipment. The tour van that never left the driveway. Brooke's tearful pleas for tuition. Just enough to finish the semester she'd promised. 3 different majors, 3 different last times. The cabin renovations that were supposed to be a family project somehow became my project alone. My checkbook. My responsibility. Holiday gatherings where envelopes of cash were accepted with casual thanks, as if I were simply passing the salt. Mom leans forward now, her well-rehearsed explanation flowing smoothly. "You don't need it, Melissa. You're stable. Your siblings need a foundation." Chase doesn't even try to hide his smirk from across the table. Brooke shrugs, finally putting down her phone. It's not like you can't afford your own place anyway. I set my napkin beside my plate, my voice steady. I've contributed $380,000 over the past 10 years. The mortgage payments, the renovations, the loans, everything. Mom's expression doesn't change. Nobody asked you to do that. Actually, you did. All of you did. Dad's face hardens. That was your choice. Nobody forced you. The room goes still. 10 years of support. 10 years of being the responsible one. 10 years of built-up expectations, disguised as family duty. All of it meaningless. I look at each of them. The parents who taught me about fairness but practice none. The brother who takes without giving. The sister who considers gratitude an inconvenience. What would you do if your family took everything you gave them for 10 years and then told you it meant nothing? I'm about to show them. My knuckles turn white against the steering wheel. The engine idles, but I can't move. Can't breathe. Can't process what just happened. 10 years. $380,000. All of it dismissed with a wave of my mother's manicured hand. Rain taps against the windshield, mirroring the tremor in my fingertips as I pull up the spreadsheet on my phone. The one I've maintained meticulously since that first panicked call a decade ago. Every mortgage payment, every emergency transfer, every last-time loan. The numbers blur as tears threaten, but I blink them back. Crying won't change what happened in that dining room. I scroll through the endless entries. June 2015, $12,000 for Chase's studio time. August 2017, $8,500 for Brooke's final semester of her second degree attempt. April 2020, $35,000 for cabin repairs. My throat tightens. The cabin where I haven't spent a single weekend in 3 years. I tap through to Chase's Instagram profile, where sunset photos from last month leap off the screen. The familiar deck railing, the lake view I paid to preserve. But it's not the cabin that makes my stomach lurch, it's the location tag. Cabo San Lucas. The same week he texted asking for $5,000 to finish the album. My fingers move automatically, finding Brooke's profile next. Her latest post yesterday showcases a Gucci handbag I recognize from their fall collection. Caption, "Treat yourself." The timestamp, 2 days after her tearful call about being a little short on rent. I've been played. Not occasionally, not accidentally, systematically, for years. A text notification interrupts my scrolling. Hank, the cabin caretaker. Miss Barrett, just wanted to let you know your brother had quite a party here last weekend. Broken window in the sunroom. I've fixed it, put it on your account as instructed. The calm that settles over me feels foreign. Cold. Clarifying. I start the car and drive home through rain-slick streets, my mind oddly quiet after years of noise. The endless calculations of what my family might need next. The constant anxiety of being their safety net. My kitchen table disappears beneath the spread of documents. Mortgage statements. Venmo transfers. Text messages pleading for just enough to get by. Emails promising repayment that never came. The clock reads 2:38 a.m. I haven't moved in hours. I reach for my laptop, fingers steady now. First, the mortgage auto-pay $1,700 monthly for a house I don't live in. Canceled. The utility accounts, the insurance policies, the credit card I added them to, for emergencies only. One by one, methodically, I sever each financial connection. With each cancellation, my breathing deepens. The tightness in my chest, a constant companion for years, begins to loosen. I draft the email 3 times before I'm satisfied. No accusations, no emotion, just facts and figures. Effective immediately, I am discontinuing financial support. Attached is a comprehensive accounting of the $380,000 provided over the past decade. I've given 6 months' notice to the mortgage company. You'll need to make other arrangements by then. I press send before I can second-guess myself. The family photo album sits at the edge of the table. I reach for it, then stop. Not tonight. Tonight is for reclaiming what's mine. I've been warning you for years. Catherine's voice through the phone carries no judgment, only vindication. You know I love you, but they've been treating you like an ATM, not a daughter. I pour another cup of coffee, watching the sun rise from my balcony. I know, I just couldn't see it until they made it impossible not to. What did Marcus say? She asks. That it's about time. That he's wondered for years how I managed to fund my own life while bankrolling theirs. I laugh, but it comes out hollow. Turns out I wasn't managing. I've been putting off my own life to fund theirs. The doorbell rings. Ruth, my 78-year-old neighbor, stands there with a casserole dish and knowing eyes that miss nothing. Thought you might need this, she says, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. Rough night? I nod, accepting both the food and the concern behind it. Family? She asks, settling into a kitchen chair. How did you know? Ruth pats my hand. Only family can wound us this deeply, dear. Blood blinds us to truths we'd see clearly in others. Her words land like permission. Permission to see clearly at last. My phone vibrates constantly throughout the day. I finally check it after dinner. Mom, there must be some mistake with the mortgage payment. Dad, call us immediately. Chase. WTF, Mom? My card was just declined at the studio. Brooke's voicemail comes last, her voice rising with each word. You can't just abandon your family like this, after everything we've done for you. The irony almost makes me laugh. Almost. Chase's final text arrives at 10:48 p.m. You have responsibilities. To this family. To me and Brooke. This is the most selfish thing you've ever done. I read it twice. Then, with deliberate movements, I silence my phone. The sudden quiet feels like the first deep breath after a decade underwater. For the first time in 10 years, I owe nothing to anyone. The relief is staggering. I freeze in the hallway, keys suspended in midair. The sight doesn't register at first. My apartment door covered in an expanding mass of hardened yellow foam that bulges from the frame like a cancerous growth. The keyhole has disappeared entirely. What the... The words escape in a whisper as I step closer, touching the rigid surfacing fingers. My phone buzzes. 3 new messages from Mom. We're worried about you, Melissa. This isn't like you. Your father hasn't been sleeping. Is that what you wanted? Call us. We can work this out. Work what out? The fact that they've written me out of their will after I saved their house? Or that my brother has apparently decided to escalate this into property damage? I pull up the security app on my phone, scrolling back through today's footage. There he is, Chase, in his black leather jacket and designer sunglasses, approaching my door at 2:17 p.m. with a can of construction foam in his hand. The camera captures his smirk as he aims the nozzle at my lock and presses, watching with satisfaction as the yellow substance expands and hardens. My phone buzzes again. Chase, this time. Hey sis, heard you're having door trouble. Maybe you should have thought about that before cutting us off. The hallway starts to spin. I lean against the wall, my heart hammering against my ribs as the reality crashes down. They're not just passive-aggressive anymore. They're retaliating. 4 more texts arrive in rapid succession, all family members claiming they know nothing about this, all suggesting I should calm down and talk things through. My cousin Diane, who I haven't heard from in 3 years, calls unexpectedly. Melissa? It's so good to hear your voice. I was just thinking about you. Listen, I heard there's some tension with your parents. I end the call mid-sentence. The hotel room is sterile and impersonal beige walls, generic landscape prints, a desk that's seen 1,000 travelers come and go. The locksmith couldn't salvage my door. The entire mechanism needs replacing, along with sections of the frame damaged by the foam. 2 days minimum before I can go home. I sit at the edge of the bed, staring at my open laptop. The spreadsheet of expenses glows in the dimness of weeks lost work from the disruption, hotel costs, door replacement, emergency locksmith fees. The numbers add up quickly. My business account shows the impact. 3 client meetings postponed. A presentation I couldn't access because the files were locked in my apartment. The carefully built cushion I'd maintained for emergencies now dwindling because of Chase's vindictive stunt. In the bathroom mirror, my reflection looks hollow-eyed and uncertain. Was I wrong to stand up for myself? I whispered to the stranger staring back at me. The question hangs in the air as I brush my teeth mechanically. Family means sacrifice, Mom always said. Family sticks together. Family comes first. But when does sacrifice become exploitation? I lie awake in the unfamiliar bed, watching headlights cast moving shadows across the ceiling. Does family obligation truly have no limits? Would I still be the good daughter if I'd given them $500,000 instead of $380,000? Would the will have included me then? Would Chase have respected my property? The questions circle like vultures, keeping sleep at bay until dawn bleeds through the curtains. I'd like to file a police report. My voice surprises me with its steadiness as I stand at the precinct desk. The officer looks up, his expression neutral. Nature of the incident? Vandalism and property damage. I have video evidence identifying the perpetrator. His eyebrows rise slightly at my clinical tone. I hand over my phone with the security footage queued up. That's my brother, I explain. He used construction foam to seal my apartment door, causing over $5,000 in damages when you include lost work and temporary housing. Family dispute? The officer asks. Criminal vandalism, I correct him. He studies me for a moment, then nods and begins typing. Would you like to press charges? Yes. The word comes without hesitation, surprising us both. My phone buzzes. Mom. Chase says you're threatening him with the police? Melissa, this is family. We handle things privately. I silence the phone and continue giving my statement. Back at the hotel, I spread the evidence across the desk with methodical precision. The security footage, downloaded and saved in 3 different locations. Bank statements documenting a decade of payments to my family. Screenshots of Chase's threatening text message. The itemized estimate for my door repair. The receipt for my hotel stay. Catherine arrives with a camera, helping document the damage for insurance. I can't believe they're doing this to you, she says, snapping photos of the foam-sealed door from different angles. After everything you've done for them. I reply, surprised at the clarity in my voice. I just can't believe I let it go on so long. Marcus calls from the office. Take all the time you need. I've rescheduled the Westlake presentation for next week. I don't deserve you, I tell him. No, you deserve better than what your family's giving you. He corrects me. That evening, my elderly neighbor Ruth appears at my hotel door with a casserole dish. You shouldn't have to eat room service every night, she says, placing the still warm container on the desk. The scent of home-cooked chicken and herbs fills the sterile room, and you shouldn't have to face this alone. I don't know what to do, I admit. Ruth's weathered hand covers mine. You're already doing it. Standing up for yourself isn't selfish, Melissa. It's necessary. I call my attorney the next morning. She reviews my evidence, voice growing increasingly confident. This is open and shut, she says finally. I'll draft a demand letter for $25,000 in damages immediately. That seems high, I reply. It includes punitive damages, pain and suffering, and lost business. Your brother made a choice. Now he gets to live with the consequences. For the first time in weeks, I feel my lips curve into a genuine smile. The notification appears on my phone at 6:43 a.m. Wire transfer, $25,000 from George Barrett. No message, no apology, just the money, appearing silently in my account like a white flag raised on a battlefield. I stare at the notification for a long moment, feeling neither victory nor vindication, just a profound weariness, mingled with something new, something that feels strangely like freedom. I open my banking app and initiate another transfer. $5,000 to the Family Reconciliation Center of Seattle. In the memo line, I type, donation in honor of George and Linda Barrett. That night, in my newly repaired apartment with its fresh paint and reinforced door, I sleep deeply for the first time in weeks. No messages interrupt my dreams. No family obligations tether me to wakefulness. I've reclaimed more than my home. I've reclaimed my power. And somehow, that's enough. My phone buzzes for the 17th time today. I don't need to look to know it's another relative calling to express their concern. It started 3 days ago. Aunt Carol's voice, thick with rehearsed sympathy. I heard what you're doing to your parents, Melissa, after everything they've done for you. I lower the blinds of my office as the autumn sun sets over downtown Seattle. The space I designed myself, clean lines, muted blues, walnut accents, offers no answers to the storm brewing outside these walls. My laptop pings with a new email notification. A screenshot from my cousin Jen, who still talks to me. The family group chat I was removed from yesterday. Linda, we're devastated. After everything we sacrificed to give her opportunities, she's abandoned us in our older years. George, the doctor says Linda's blood pressure is dangerously high from the stress. Chase, she's been acting erratic for months. We're all worried about her mental state. Brooke, I tried reaching out again, but she's completely shut us out. So heartless. I take a deep breath, my fingers trembling slightly as I reach for my water glass. The narrative they're spinning is masterful in its manipulation. In their version, I'm the ungrateful daughter who achieved success and discarded the family who supported her. My phone buzzes again. My neighbor Ruth this time, her voice tense. Linda called me crying about how you've abandoned them, said they're struggling to make ends meet. She pauses. Didn't you just pay off their mortgage last year? Yes. The single word feels heavy in my mouth. That's what I thought. Ruth's tone shifts. Something didn't add up. I open my laptop and stare at the document I've been preparing for 3 days. A simple, factual accounting. No accusations, no emotional language. Just numbers and dates. 10 years of financial support laid bare in black and white. Marcus appears in my doorway, concern etched across his face. You don't have to do this, you know. I do, actually. I straighten my shoulders. The truth deserves as much airtime as the lies. I hit pause before I can reconsider. One statement on my rarely used Facebook page. Family is complicated. Numbers are not. $380,000 over 10 years. That's not abandonment. That's the end of exploitation. Attached. A clean professional spreadsheet detailing every major payment. Mortgage payments. Chase's recording equipment. Brooke's third attempt at college. The cabin renovations. Medical bills. Car payments. Everything. No commentary. Just facts. I close my laptop and drive home in silence, the weight between my shoulder blades finally beginning to lift. The calls start coming by midweek. Different calls this time. I had no idea, my father's cousin Jim says. George told everyone you just decided to cut them off out of nowhere. Catherine sits across from me at my kitchen island, scrolling through her phone. Brooke's lost about 300 followers since yesterday. People are connecting the dots about her Paris trip. She looks up. The one you paid for. I never wanted this, I whisper. You didn't create this, Catherine reminds me. You just stopped hiding it. My neighbor Ruth calls again. Your mother started at the diner today, waiting tables. Information isn't delivered with satisfaction, just as a fact. Your father's working weekends at Anderson's Hardware. I should feel something guilt, perhaps. Instead, I feel a strange, hollow peace. Actions have consequences, even family actions. Another text from Catherine later that evening. Chase just launched a GoFundMe for his breakthrough album. 2 donations so far. I put my phone down and water my houseplants in silence. The letter arrives on a Tuesday, my father's precise handwriting on the envelope. Inside, 3 pages of explanation about misunderstandings and family communication issues. Not once does the word sorry appear. My mother's voicemail follows that evening. We should talk, Melissa. Start fresh. Family is family after all. I'm reviewing design plans when my office door opens. Chase stands there, clutching an ostentatious bouquet and wearing the smile that usually preceded asking for money. Hey, sis. His voice hits the exact note of contrition I'm sure he rehearsed in the car. I've been doing some thinking. I say nothing, waiting. Family's too important for all this unpleasantness. He steps forward, placing the flowers on my desk. We should put this behind us. Which part, specifically? I keep my voice neutral, professional. He shifts uncomfortably. All of it. Water under the bridge. My phone buzzes with a text from Brooke. We really should talk about healing our family. Also, my car needs repairs. Could you help? Just one last time. I look up at Chase, who's examining the modern art piece on my wall, the one I purchased after my first major client paid, instead of handing the money to him for studio time. I think we're done here. I stand, smooth my skirt. Please don't come to my workplace again. His face hardens, the mask slipping. So that's it? 10 years of family and you're just done? No, I say, walking to the door. 10 years of banking. I've closed the account. The door clicks shut behind him, the sound remarkably like freedom. I arrive 15 minutes early to Riverstone Coffee, my hands steady as I park. Catherine sits in her own car 2 spaces over, giving me a reassuring nod before we both step out. The weight of the leather portfolio under my arm grounds me. You're sure about this? Catherine asks, her voice gentle but firm. The same voice that's guided me through the last 3 months of therapy sessions and sleepless nights. I'm sure. The coffee shop bustles with Tuesday morning regulars. I select a corner table with clear sightlines to the door and position my chair facing the entrance. Catherine takes a seat at the adjacent table, close enough for support, but separate enough to send a message. This isn't a family reunion. This is a reckoning. I order a medium Americano with room for cream. Catherine orders tea. We wait. They arrive as a unit, just like they've always operated. My father leads the procession, his silver hair uncombed, his collared shirt wrinkled. Behind him, my mother clutches her purse like a shield. Chase and Brooke trail behind, both looking diminished somehow, Chase's designer watch noticeably absent. Brooke's highlights grown out with dark roots, showing. The contrast between us is stark. While I've shed 20 pounds of stress weight and gained a straightness to my spine, they seem to have collapsed inward, as if my financial support had been the scaffolding holding them upright. Melissa. Dad nods stiffly, eyes flicking to Catherine with poorly disguised annoyance. I gesture to the empty chairs. Please, sit down. They arrange themselves across from me, a tribunal suddenly finding themselves on trial. Mom's eyes are already glistening with tears that haven't yet fallen. We appreciate you agreeing to meet. Dad begins, his voice carrying the practiced cadence of a prepared speech. There have been some misunderstandings that have gotten out of hand. Misunderstandings, I repeat, the word hollow. Mom reaches across the table, stopping short of touching my hand when I don't move toward her. We miss you, sweetheart. The family isn't the same without you. Chase clears his throat, eyes fixed somewhere over my left shoulder. Look, about the phone thing, that was stupid. I was angry and I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. His apology hangs in the air narrow, specific, focused only on the most recent transgression, not the decade of taking. Brooke tucks her hair behind her ear, a gesture she's copied from me since childhood. Can't we just put all this behind us? Start fresh? We're family. Family, I echo, my voice steady as I unzip my portfolio. That's why we're here. I place the first document on the table, a mortgage statement from 2015 with my name as the payer. Then another, the check for Chase's recording equipment. Then Brooke's tuition bill. One by one, I lay down the artifacts of a decade of one-sided giving cabin renovation invoices, property tax statements, loan agreements never honored. $380,000, I say quietly. That's what family cost me. Dad's face hardens. If this is about money, it's not about money, it's about truth. I place the security camera screenshot showing Chase with the construction foam in front of him. It's about actions having consequences. The silence that follows is absolute. A nearby barista drops a spoon, the clatter making my mother jump. I didn't do it for an inheritance, I continue, my voice clear in the quiet. I did it because I thought we were family. I thought family meant mutual support, reciprocity, gratitude. I meet each of their eyes. I was wrong. Melissa, please. Mom begins. I hold up my hand. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to establish boundaries. I place a business card for Dr. Levinson, the family therapist, on the table. If you ever want a relationship with me again, there are conditions. Chase's smirk slips as I continue. Complete honesty, full accountability for the past, family therapy not negotiable, financial independence for all of you. No more loans, no more bailouts. Brooke's eyes widen. You can't just... I can. I am. I close my portfolio with a soft finality. The choice is yours now. Dad's authority seems to dissolve before my eyes, his shoulders slumping as his scripted speech fails him. Mom's tears fall freely. Now, not the calculated ones I've seen before, but messy, genuine ones that streak her makeup. Chase's expression morphs from dismissal to something closer to fear. Without my safeguards, his future suddenly looks uncertain. Brooke stares at her hands, her entire carefully curated lifestyle built on the foundation of my generosity. I stand, smoothing my navy dress, the same one I wore to that fateful dinner where they revealed the will. But I'm not the same person who sat across from them that night. Let me know what you decide. I turn to leave, then pause. Not because you need something, but because you're ready to be actual family. I walk away without looking back, Catherine falling into step beside me. Outside in the sunlight, I take my first truly free breath in a decade. You did good, Catherine says, squeezing my shoulder. I nod, feeling neither triumph nor sorrow, just the clean, clear certainty of someone who has finally claimed their worth. Some families are born, others are chosen. And sometimes the strongest choice is walking away with your head held high. I step off the plane at Narita International Airport, the exhaustion of a 14-hour flight melting away as reality sets in. I'm actually in Tokyo. After a decade of postponing this dream, filing it under someday, while my bank account drained into the Barrett family void, I'm finally here. My camera sits heavy against my HEPA professional model that would have once funded one of Chase's breakthrough recording sessions. The streets of Shibuya pulse with energy as I frame the perfect shot of strangers crossing the famous intersection. My photography instructor would be proud of the composition. She's been telling me for months that I have a natural eye. It's strange how validating praise feels when it's earned rather than extracted. You look happy, says the text from Catherine when I sent her the photo. She's right. I am. 1 year since I walked away from that dinner table. 365 days of rebuilding a life that's actually mine. My business has expanded into educational spacey university library last month, a progressive elementary school breaking ground next week. The irony isn't lost on me that I'm designing spaces for knowledge while finally becoming educated about my own worth. Back home, my condo overlooks Lake Washington, modest but beautiful, with oversized windows that flood the space with light. No sprawling mortgage, no cabin maintenance fees, no monthly subsidies draining my accounts, just peace. Mine. My therapist calls it restoration of self. Twice monthly sessions have helped me understand how my childhood as the responsible one primed me for exploitation. The journals stacked on my nightstand chronicle the journey from raw anger to quiet acceptance. The guilt still flickers occasionally, like a weak bulb threatening to die. But it no longer consumes me. I've heard through mutual friends that Dad works at Peterson's Hardware now. Mom waitresses at the Bluebird Diner. Their Facebook posts about simple pleasures reek of forced contentment. Chase, surprisingly, has maintained steady employment at a music store for 6 months longer than any previous job. Brooke's Instagram now features more modest celebrations, the designer labels and European cafes, replaced by local parks and home-cooked meals. They're adapting, not my responsibility. To the family we choose and the boundaries we honor, I say, lifting my wine glass. Thanksgiving dinner at my table looks nothing like the performance I endured for decades. Catherine and her husband sit across from Marcus and his boyfriend. Ruth, my 80-year-old neighbor, beams beside her granddaughter. 2 colleagues from work complete our circle. Genuine laughter erupts at Catherine's story about her disastrous attempt at homemade cranberry sauce. No one here keeps score. No one monitors who contributes what. No one's love comes with conditions. My phone buzzes with a text from Mom. We miss you at Thanksgiving. The door is always open. I don't respond. Some doors need to stay closed. Later, as dishes are cleared and coffee brewed, I show Ruth photos of the Montana cabin I'm purchasing 2 bedrooms overlooking a lake, where I'll retreat to write and photograph wildlife. My cabin, my terms. Have you thought more about Eric's invitation? Catherine asks when others have moved to the living room. I smile, thinking of the kind environmental lawyer I met at a fundraiser last month. His gentle questions, his thoughtful listening, the way he never once mentioned family beyond they shaped who we are, for better or worse. I'm meeting him for dinner next week, I tell her. Outside my windows, Seattle sparkles as dusk settles. In my hand, my phone shows 3 missed calls from Chase, likely another thinly veiled request, disguised as reconciliation. I silence the phone and turn away from the past, joining my chosen family in the warm light of my living room. Some relationships may never be restored, and that's okay. I've found my peace. I arrange the graduate school applications in a precise fan across my kitchen table, the letterheads forming a rainbow of academic promises. Princeton, Columbia, Georgetown. My fingertips trace the embossed insignias while my laptop screen glows with my meticulously crafted budget spreadsheet. The numbers don't lie. Tuition, $52,600. Housing, $18,400. Books and supplies, $3,200. The total stares back at me, daunting but manageable thanks to the $85,000 education fund my grandmother established before she passed last spring. You have your grandmother's mind, she'd told me once, her papery hand squeezing mine. Sharp as a tack. Use it for something that matters. My phone feels heavy in my palm as I dial. The spreadsheet's neat columns shimmer through a sudden film of tears, not sadness, but anticipation. After years of putting my own dreams aside, the path forward is finally clear. Dad answers on the 3rd ring. Madison, how's my responsible daughter today? Hi, Dad. I'm actually calling about Grandma's education fund. My voice rises with genuine excitement for the first time in months. I've narrowed down my grad school choices, and I need to discuss accessing the money for the deposits. The silence that follows stretches one beat too long. Dad, are you there? Yes. His voice drops half an octave. About that fund, there have been some, temporary family adjustments. My stomach clenches. What kind of adjustments? The rustle of the phone being passed. Mom's voice now, falsely bright. Madison, honey, the timing of this call is, well, we were planning to discuss this with you soon. Discuss what? The education fund. She clears her throat. That money's gone to your sister's condo. The room tilts sideways. What? Brooke and Travis needed a decent place, and the market was just perfect. You know how real estate opportunities work, strike while the iron's hot. Mom's words rush together. They found this adorable 3-bedroom in Oakwood Hills with a pool access, and my education fund paid for Brooke's condo? Each word feels like glass in my throat. Now don't be dramatic. Dad's voice again. Speakerphone now. You're smart, you'll figure it out. Student loans exist for a reason. My hands tremble so violently I nearly drop the phone. Blood pounds in my ears. The applications on my table blur into meaningless colored rectangles. Madison, are you there? Mom's voice seems to come from miles away. A memory surfaces with cruel clarity. Brooke, age 12, twirling in a brand new Easter dress, while I wore her outgrown one from the previous year. Madison doesn't mind. Mom had told the questioning church ladies. She's not fussy about clothes like her sister. Another flash. Dad beaming at Brooke's class in algebra while my straight. A report card sat unacknowledged on the refrigerator. Your sister needs more encouragement with academics, he'd explained when I finally asked why. The pattern stretches back through my entire childhood. 2 daughters. 2 standards. Madison the reliable one. Madison, the low-maintenance one. Madison, who never needed attention because she always figured things out on her own. How long? My voice sounds foreign to my own ears. How long have you been taking money from the fund? Dad sighs. Now, Maddie. How long? About 18 months, Mom admits. Small transfers at first, then the bulk for the down payment in February. February. 3 months after Grandma died. While I was still writing thank you notes for funeral flowers, that money was legally designated for my education. My knuckles whiten around the phone. Grandma established it specifically for my master's degree. Oh, honey. Mom's laugh holds a dismissive edge. It's not like we robbed a bank. It's family money being used for family. It was my inheritance. And what exactly are you going to do about it? Dad's tone hardens. Sue your own parents? The word lands like a revelation. Sue. Legal action. Consequences. If necessary, yes. Their laughter simultaneous and genuine, it cuts deeper than their words. With what money? Dad asks. Don't be dramatic, it's family. I end the call without another word. The applications stare up at me from the table, mocking my careful planning. The spreadsheet glows from my laptop, each number now a monument to my naivety. The future I'd mapped out dissolves before my eyes. My hands stop trembling. What would you do if the people who should protect your future were the ones who destroyed it? Would you walk away to keep the peace, or fight back with everything you have? I close my laptop with a quiet click of finality. They're about to discover exactly what their responsible daughter is capable of. I wipe the last tear from my face as the elevator doors open to our office floor. No more crying. Grandma wouldn't have wallowed. She would have acted. My cubicle feels like a sanctuary after 3 sleepless nights. I spread Grandma's papers across my desk, bank statements, legal documents, handwritten notes. My fingers trace her elegant script. Education fund for Madison Elizabeth Anderson. Not a penny for Brooke, not a cent for a condo with pool access. The clock reads 7:15 a.m., 2 hours before anyone arrives. Perfect. I create a new folder on my computer. Betrayal documentation. Harsh? Maybe. Accurate? Absolutely. Into it go scanned copies of every relevant document, followed by a meticulous timeline of conversations. Each entry stings like reopening a wound. The 12th of January. Dad promised to set up fund access after tax season. The 8th of February. Mom mentioned temporary family borrowing. The 15th of March. Discovery of complete fund liquidation for Brooke's condo. A shadow falls across my keyboard. I slam my laptop shut. Early bird catches the evidence. Lorraine Chen, my boss, 60-something with salt and pepper haircut and a no-nonsense bob. I hadn't heard her come in. Just organizing some personal papers, I mumble. She sets a coffee cup beside me, the good stuff from the cafe downstairs, not the office sludge. People with nothing to hide don't jump when their boss appears. She leans against my desk. What's wrong, Madison? Something in her steady gaze breaks my carefully constructed dam. The story spills out in halting sentences. Lorraine doesn't interrupt, doesn't offer empty platitudes. When I finish, she simply asks, "May I?" and gestures to the bank statements. Her eyes narrow as she reads, "Did you know I practiced estate law for 20 years before switching to policy work?" I shake my head. This, she taps the document with a manicured finger, is misappropriation of designated funds. Your grandmother created a legal instrument with specific terms. Your parents violated those terms. They're still my parents, I whisper. Lorraine's face softens momentarily, then hardens. And you were their child to protect. 3 days later, we sit at a corner table in the bistro across from our office building. Lorraine pushes aside her half-eaten salad and pulls out a legal pad. First, we document everything: bank transfers, verbal statements, written communications. Second, we determine if your grandmother established the fund through a trust or simply designated accounts. Third, we explore legal remedies. My stomach knots. Legal remedies against my own family. Your family acted against you first, Lorraine reminds me. The question is whether you'll let them get away with it. Back home that evening, I dig deeper into Grandma's papers. Among her address book pages, a business card slides out. Vincent Anderson, senior partner, Prescott and Anderson Legal Group. My father's brother. The one who disappeared from family gatherings after some mysterious dad years ago. My finger hovers over the LinkedIn message button for 10 minutes before I type. Uncle Vince, this is Madison. I need to discuss something regarding Grandma's estate. Could we speak privately? I hit send, expecting days of silence. My phone rings 17 minutes later. Madison. His voice sounds eerily like Dad's, but sharper, more precise. I've been waiting for someone to notice. Notice what? The irregularities. Your father's sudden lifestyle improvements. The new car. Brooke's condo announcement. The timing after Mother's passing seemed convenient. My heart pounds. You suspected? I've been watching from a distance for years. Your father has a history of financial creativity. I couldn't prove anything until now. 2 days later, I sit in an imposing conference room at Prescott and Anderson. Uncle Vince looks nothing like the vague memories from my childhood, taller, leaner, with calculating eyes that miss nothing. The forensic accountant he's brought in slides a folder across the polished table. We've identified multiple unauthorized transfers beginning 18 months ago. Small amounts at first, 5,000 here, 10,000 there, accelerating after your grandmother's death. Vince taps the timeline. They started before Mother died, while she was still in hospice care. The room spins. Before she died? How? Your father had her power of attorney during her final months. He abused it. There's more, says the silver-haired woman beside Vince. We've accessed communications between your sister and her fiancé. She passes me a printed email. Brooke's name at the top. My vision blurs as I read. Mom says Madison won't need it anyway. She's always figured things out herself. Besides, she's only talking about grad school because she hasn't found a husband yet. My hands tremble. Not just theft dismissal of everything I value. We have enough for a civil suit, Vince says quietly. The question is, are you ready for what comes next? This will fracture your family irreparably. They fractured it, I whisper. I'm just exposing the break. My phone buzzes with a text from Lorraine. My home office is yours if you need neutral ground. I've been in your shoes. Justice matters. Another message appears from Sarah, my friend since college. Whatever you're going through, I'm here. No questions asked if you don't want them. Then, most unexpectedly, an email from Mrs. Winters, Grandma's home health nurse. Your grandmother spoke often of your educational aspirations. She was explicit about her wishes for that money. I'd be willing to provide a sworn statement if needed. I look up at the faces around the conference table, professional strangers, and a once distant uncle, now united in my corner. For the first time in days, I don't feel alone. What's the next step? I ask, my voice steadier than I expect. Vince smiles, a small, grim expression, nothing like my father's easy charm. Now we show them that the quiet one in the family finally has something to say. Have you ever discovered that someone you trusted completely had betrayed you? The moment Madison realizes the depth of her family's deception will leave you breathless. Share in the comments if you've ever had to make the painful choice between family peace and personal justice. My phone vibrates for the 18th time today. The Anderson family group chat has erupted into a volcano of concern, guilt, and thinly veiled threats. I slide the phone face down on my coffee table and turn back to the stack of legal documents. Uncle Vince's attorney had couriered them over with instructions to review before tomorrow's meeting. The phone buzzes again, then chimes with a voicemail. Against my better judgment, I press play. Madison. Mom's voice breaks, a theatrical catch that used to send me running to fix whatever was wrong. Family matters should stay private. You've always understood that. Whatever this is about, we can discuss it without strangers involved. Call me back, honey. Please. Delete. My finger hovers over the group chat. 27 unread messages. The preview shows fragments, completely unreasonable, and after everything we've done, and your sister is devastated. The phone rings Dad's direct line. I answer before I can think better of it. Madison Elizabeth Anderson. His voice carries that specific timbre of paternal authority that once made my shoulders curl inward. There are consequences to disloyalty that you haven't considered. Like what? My voice emerges steadier than I feel. That job of yours? 3 calls to the right people and... Are you threatening me? His sigh rushes through the speaker. Don't be dramatic. I'm stating facts. Actions have consequences. Think about what you're doing to this family. I end the call and block his number. 10 minutes later, Brooke texts separately from the group. Travis and I might lose our dream home because of you. Is that what you want? To destroy your sister's future? I set the phone down and stare at the wall. The irony sits bitter on my tongue. Rain patters against my apartment windows. I've been sitting in the same spot for 2 hours, the lawyer's business card in one hand, phone in the other. My thumb hovers over the delete contact button. A knock at the door startles me. Sarah stands in the hallway with a bag from our favorite Thai restaurant and a concerned expression. You didn't answer any texts, so I figured. She holds up the food. Pad C shoe, extra broccoli. I step aside. Sarah spots the legal papers on my coffee table, the lawyer's card in my hand. You were about to back out, she says, not a question. I sink into the couch. They're still my family. Sarah unpacks containers with deliberate movements. My therapist calls what your parents do reactive abuse. They push and push until you finally react, then paint you as the villain. It's just money, I whisper. It's not, though. She sets a plate in front of me. It's 27 years of being the family doormat. It's your grandmother's wishes. It's your future. The next morning, a package waits at my apartment door. Inside, a hardcover notebook bound in forest green leather. The first page holds Lorraine's precise handwriting. Your future, your terms. I trace the letters, remembering my boss's face when I'd finally broken down in her office. The education fund story spilling out between sobs. Because you thought it made you strong. Lorraine had said when I admitted my lifelong silence. But silence isn't strength, Madison. It's permission. My silence enabled them. For 27 years, I'd swallowed their favoritism, accepted their excuses, believed their gaslighting. I'd been the good daughter who never complained, never demanded, never fought back. Not anymore. Vince's law firm occupies the top floor of the Hawthorne building downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame the city skyline as the forensic accountant clicks through her presentation. The timeline is irrefutable, she says, pointing to the spreadsheet projected on the wall. The first unauthorized transfer occurred 18 months ago, a test amount of $2,500. The evidence lays bare every manipulation, every lie. Bank records show withdrawals began 3 months before grandmother even passed. Power of attorney documents bear signatures with questionable authenticity. They started stealing before she died? My voice sounds distant to my own ears, and accelerated once you began asking questions. The accountant highlights a series of rapid transactions. When you mentioned the fund last month, they immediately began transferring assets between accounts, converting others to your sister's name. Vince's hand covers mine briefly. There's more. The lawyer slides a phone across the table, a text exchange between Travis and my father. Travis, should we mention the house at dinner? Madison might ask where the money came from. Dad, say nothing. She knows it's her grandmother's money, but she won't make waves. She never does. My throat tightens. We also found this. The lawyer gently places a leather-bound journal before me. My grandmother's distinctive handwriting fills the pages. The 12th of October, spoke with the attorney about Madison's education fund. She has her grandfather's mind for policy. The master's program will give her the credentials she needs. I've made it clear the money is only for her education. Robert and Diane tried to suggest it should be split between the girls, but I was firm. Brooke has always been their priority. Madison will be mine. Tears blur my vision. The settlement offer arrives by courier 3 days later. A payment plan, a formal apology, an offer to help Brooke and Travis find more appropriate housing. That same day, my aunt calls to warn me about the family intervention planned at my apartment that evening. Your mother's invited the pastor and her bridge club friends. They're planning to ambush you at 6. I don't go home. Instead, I sit in Vince's study, watching rain stream down his windows while he makes us both tea. The settlement isn't terrible, he admits, sliding the papers toward me. You could walk away, take the money, let them save face. For a moment, I waver. The lifetime habit of keeping peace nearly overwhelms me. What would you do? I ask. Vince sets down his cup. It's not about what I would do, it's about what your grandmother wanted for you. I need to do this. The words solidify something inside me. Not just for me, but for Grandma's wishes. For what's right. In that moment, I feel her presence not in some mystical way, but in the straightening of my spine, the lifting of my chin. I push the settlement papers away. Let's schedule the hearing, I say. And Vince? Let's make sure it's in the larger courtroom, the one with plenty of public seating. Vince's eyes widen slightly, then crinkle at the corners. He reaches for his phone. They say the quiet ones surprise you the most. My family never imagined their sensible daughter would stand up to them. They're about to learn just how wrong they've been. I step through the courthouse doors wearing Grandma's cameo pinned to the lapel of my simple black dress. The weight of it against my chest steadies me as I scan the marble lobby. My lawyer, Sharon, checks her watch and nods toward the elevators. Ready? The courtroom doors swing open, and a wave of murmurs crashes over me. The gallery is packed not just with the expected legal teams, but with faces I recognize from every corner of my parents' carefully curated social life. Pastor Michaels from First Baptist, Mrs. Winthrop from Mom's Bridge Club, 3 members of the church finance committee. They shift in their seats, eyes sliding away when I meet their gaze. My parents arrive 7 minutes late, Dad in his golf tournament blazer, Mom in a cream St. John knit suit. Brooke trails behind them, holding Travis's hand like she's being led to her execution. Judge Harriman peers over her glasses. Anderson versus Anderson, case number 47,291. Sharon rises, placing 3 binders on the evidence table. The projector casts bank statements onto the wall. Red circles highlight transaction after transaction, arrows connecting them to my parents' accounts, to Brooke's mortgage documents. Dad shifts in his seat. His attorney, a country club friend named Walter, with thinning hair, shuffles papers without making eye contact. Mrs. Anderson, Judge Harriman says when it's my mother's turn, did your mother-in-law explicitly state that this fund was for Madison's graduate education? Mom smooths her skirt. Well, Mother Anderson had many conversations about the children's futures, very general conversations. Sharon approaches with a document. This notarized letter from 2017 seems quite specific about Madison's master's degree. Mom's foundation cracks. A flush creeps up her neck as she reads. Yes, but families adjust priorities as circumstances change. Elizabeth would have understood. Did she understand before she died? Or did you make these adjustments after she was no longer able to object? I testify next, my voice steadier than expected. I describe finding the grad school applications, making the phone call, the slow dawning horror as I realized what had happened. And what was your father's response when you mentioned potential legal action? I meet Dad's eyes across the courtroom. He laughed. They both did. He said, with what money? A soft gasp ripples through the gallery. Dad's testimony unravels like a cheap sweater. He claims the transfers were temporary, contradicting sworn statements about their permanence. He insists Grandma verbally amended her wishes, then admits under cross-examination that this conversation happened after her stroke. First National's bank manager takes the stand next, her gray suit as crisp as her testimony. We noticed unusual pattern shifts in the trust account beginning 18 months ago. Large withdrawals occurred immediately following Mrs. Elizabeth Anderson's hospitalization. Did you flag these transactions? Sharon asks. We attempted to contact the primary account holder, but by then she was unable to communicate clearly. Travis fidgets during his testimony, pulling at his collar. Sharon shows him a credit card statement. 3 days after receiving the down payment funds, you purchased a boat? He glances at Brooke, then back at his hands. We figured more money would come if we needed it. Her parents always covered Brooke's stuff. Brooke testifies last. Mascara smudged beneath her eyes. Did you know the source of the funds for your condominium purchase? Mom and Dad said it was family money. And you didn't question why your sister's education fund was suddenly available for your housing needs? Brooke glances at her parents, then back at her lap. We thought she'd just get over it. Madison always does. The words hang in the air like smoke. Judge Harriman returns from recess, her face granite. I'm issuing an immediate freeze on all assets belonging to Richard and Patricia Anderson pending final judgment. Furthermore, I'm placing a temporary lien on their primary residence. Dad's face drains of color. This court takes the misappropriation of designated trust funds extremely seriously. As we file out, Pastor Michael steps toward me, not my parents. Madison, when you're ready to talk. Mrs. Winthrop turns her back when Mom tries to speak to her. Uncle Vince, waiting silently in the back row, gives me a single, affirming nod. In the hallway, Walter corners Sharon. We need to discuss settlement options. Immediately. They sequester us in a conference room. My parents sit across from me, smaller somehow than they were this morning. A full repayment plan, Walter offers, with interest and a public apology. Mom reaches across the table. For the first time since this began, her eyes hold something besides indignation, something that might be genuine regret. Maddie, please, we made a terrible mistake. I look at her manicured hand, remembering how it used to smooth my hair when I had nightmares. How it later waved away my achievements while applauding Brooke's smallest efforts. The time for that was before this began. I stand, gathering my purse. Mom's whisper follows me to the door. What happens to us now? The question hangs between us like a sentence neither of us can finish. The courthouse air conditioning hums with mechanical precision as I smooth my navy pencil skirt and adjust Grandma's cameo pin. 3 weeks of depositions, evidence submissions, and sleepless nights have led to this moment. My reflection in the polished wooden table shows someone I barely recognize as shoulders back, chin high, eyes clear. Across the aisle, Mom and Dad huddle with their attorney. Dad's collar hangs loose around his neck. He's lost weight. Mom's usually perfect hair frays at the edges, her foundation failing to hide the shadows beneath her eyes. The empty chairs beside them speak volumes. Brooke texted last night. This is your vendetta. We refuse to participate. Travis and she fled to his parents' lake house, accountability left behind like unwanted baggage. All rise. Judge Peterson enters with purposeful strides, her silver-streaked hair pulled back severely. The gallery rustles faces I've known my entire life filling the rows. Mrs. Kavanaugh from the church social committee. Mr. Wallace from the country club board. Principal Reeves, who hired Brooke straight out of college. After reviewing the evidence presented in Anderson, this court finds clear and incontrovertible evidence of flagrant abuse of trust. Judge Peterson removes her reading glasses, addressing my parents directly. What makes this case particularly disturbing is not merely the financial transgression, but the calculated manipulation of a familial relationship. The court orders immediate repayment of the full $85,000, plus 8% compound interest from the date of first unauthorized withdrawal. She pauses. Additionally, the defendants shall cover all legal expenses incurred by the plaintiff and punitive damages in the amount of $25,000 for breach of fiduciary duty. A collective intake of breath ripples through the gallery. Given the defendant's financial situation, the court orders the family residence at 1,432 Oakwood Drive be listed for sale within 14 days, with proceeds directed first to satisfy this judgment. Mom sways in her seat. Dad catches her elbow, his knuckles white. The gavel cracks like summer thunder. It's over. I don't realize I'm crying until Uncle Vince silently passes me his handkerchief. Not tears of triumph, just quiet acknowledgement that Grandma's wishes have finally been honored. Outside on the courthouse steps, Aunt Lydia, Mom's sister, approaches with hesitant steps, then deliberately walks to my side. Your grandmother would be proud. Her voice wavers. She always said you had steel in your spine. Mom stops halfway down the steps, mouth opening and closing like a fish stranded on shore. 3 days later, a certified envelope arrives at my apartment. Inside, a formal letter on First Presbyterian letterhead. After careful consideration, the church leadership committee has voted unanimously to remove Richard and Catherine Anderson from all leadership positions, effective immediately. Mrs. Kavanaugh's signature, precise and black, anchors the bottom of the page. That same afternoon, Mr. Wallace calls. Thought you should hear it from me, Madison. The country club board met this morning. Your parents' membership has been, well, revoked. 32 years, gone in a 15-minute vote. I drive past Brooke and Travis's condo after work. A foreclosure notice flutters on their door. Through the windows, cardboard boxes stack haphazardly. Principal Reeves didn't waste time. Brooke's classroom already reassigned after the ethics review. We cannot employ educators who demonstrate such significant lapses in judgment, the board concluded. Wildwood Amusement Park reached similar conclusions about Travis, his supervisors citing character concerns incompatible with our family values. The sky darkens as I drive across town to my childhood home. I park across the street, watching strangers in business attire measure and assess. Dad stands in the driveway, arms crossed tight across his chest as a woman in a crimson blazer gestures toward the roof. Behind them, Mom moves from window to window inside the house, touching curtains she sewed 30 years ago. The home where I learned to walk, where Dad built that ridiculous garden trellis that collapsed during my high school graduation party. A beat-up moving truck sits in the neighbor's driveway, discount movers stenciled on its side. Beside it, folding tables display crystal bowls, silver candlesticks, and the grandfather clock that chimed through my childhood. A hand-lettered sign reads, "Estate sale, everything must go." Mom emerges with a banker's box labeled photo albums, her steps unsteady on the porch steps. On the passenger seat of her car, rental applications for Sycamore Gardens, the one-bedroom units in Westfield's lowest income neighborhood. The complex sits behind the petting zoo where Travis now shovels hay, the only place that would hire him. Dad glances up, somehow sensing my presence despite the distance and gathering darkness. Our eyes lock across the quiet street. For one suspended moment, I see recognition in his face, not of his daughter, but of actions that cannot be undone. A notification pings my phone, an email from Georgetown, confirming my enrollment deposit has been received. My future waits, stretched out like an unwritten page. They say karma comes when you least expect it. I never wanted destruction, just justice. But some actions set off consequences that can't be controlled. As my family's comfortable world collapses around them, I face my hardest question yet. Was it worth it? The streetlights flicker on as I head home, illuminating the path forward one light at a time. Sunlight breaks through my bedroom blinds, casting golden bars across the acceptance letter framed on my wall. Princeton University, Master of Public Administration. 3 months into my first semester, and the letterhead still makes my breath catch every morning. I trace the edge of my grandmother's photo beside it. We did it, I whisper, straightening her silver frame exactly parallel to my merit scholarship certificate. The award covers what her education fund should have a different path to the same destination. My phone buzzes. Not the old number my parents still call weekly, but my new one, known only to people who've earned my trust. Ready for tomorrow's presentation? Uncle Vince asks when I answer. Almost. Just finishing the section on trust protection clauses. I adjust the cameo pin at my throat, the one possession of Grandma's I wouldn't sell to help finance tuition. The committee will be impressed. Not many first years tackle financial reform legislation. Experience is a thorough teacher, I say, the words falling into the comfortable rhythm we've established since he became my ally. After we hang up, I stand at my apartment window. From here, I can see the distant clock tower where I'll present tomorrow. My reflection overlays the campus view, shoulders squared, chin lifted. a posture unrecognizable to anyone who knew me a year ago. 4 blocks away, in a one-bedroom apartment above a laundromat, my parents unpack groceries from the discount market. Dad sorts coupons with the same hands that once signed away my future, without hesitation. Mom washes dishes while watching Travis walk dogs at the petting zoo, visible through their kitchen window. The condo they bought, Brickney Condo, in truth stands empty now, foreclosure notice taped to its door. According to Sarah, who still follows my sister online, Brooke's social media has devolved into lengthy pleas for sympathy that meet increasingly cold responses. My parents' apartment doesn't even have room for a dining table. They eat at a card table, surrounded by the few possessions that weren't sold to satisfy the judgment. Dad's golf clubs are gone. Mom's porcelain figurines, too. The family portrait that once dominated their living room wall now hangs crooked in their narrow hallway. I don't feel the vindication I expected. Just quiet certainty that consequences have found their proper homes. To Madison's first semester. Lorraine raises her glass across the restaurant table. Her celebration dinner marks the end of my first month of classes. The small victories matter now. To allies who become family, Uncle Vince adds, his eyes crinkling with genuine pride. Sarah squeezes my hand under the table. Her weekly video calls have anchored me through the transition, her friendship a constant, while everything else shifted. The waiter brings a small package, another card from my grandmother's bridge club, women who've rallied around her memory and my fresh start. 6 months ago, I faced my family's betrayal alone. Now support surrounds me from directions I never anticipated. Dr. Keaton's office smells of leather and lemon polish. I sit in the same chair every Tuesday, working through family tangles that once seemed impossible to unravel. You wrote about boundaries this week, she notes, gesturing to my journal. They're not walls, I say, surprising myself with the insight. They're more like property lines, clear markers of what's mine to protect. She nods. And the anger? I consider this. Less sharp, still there but not consuming everything else. Later, walking across campus, I stop to watch a cardinal land on a snow-covered branch. Simple beauty breaks through, a moment of joy that doesn't feel stolen or temporary, just mine. So, if a trust specifies educational purposes, the funds can't legally be redirected without proper documentation and consent. I explain to the community college classroom. 20 students, mostly women, mostly older, scribble notes. My volunteer work at the financial literacy program wasn't required for my degree. I chose it anyway. A young woman raises her hand. How do you know all this stuff about inheritance protection? The question hangs in the air. My throat tightens. Experience, I finally answer, is the most expensive teacher. At my desk, the small shrine I've created holds my grandmother's photograph and her favorite saying, handwritten and framed. Education is the one thing no one can take away from you. Beside it lies notification of my summer internship with the Family Financial Protection Coalition. My first paper on educational trust legislation received the highest grade in my cohort. I touch the cameo at my throat, feeling its familiar contours. Tomorrow, I'll stand before a classroom as a teaching assistant for the first time. In the window's reflection, I almost see my grandmother standing behind me, her hand on my shoulder. Some lessons aren't in any textbook, I whisper to her ghost, but they're the ones that truly educate us.